Immigration, which is the backbone of Australia, together with hardworking Australians that together we build these amazing countries. And recently we've seen a lot of protests against immigration. To some extent, it has valid points, and then unfortunately we have very different view on it. And I just want to deep dive on what happened in the protests, how it will affect future Australians, like basically migrants want to become Australian, migrants seeking work visas, migrants seeking permanent residency, what will happen to family visa down the line. Without further ado, let's get started. Hi, in case this is the first time you see my channel, my name is Johnny. I'm a migration lawyer based in Sydney, and I help people to get PR faster in Australia. The anti-immigration protest is not a standalone event in Australia. You see it in the United Kingdom as well, led by the Reform Party. And over here in Australia, we also have the second protest is happening today, the 19th of October 2025, and also there's mega one in August. And that was rather chaotic back then, because while people chanting slogans saying reduce immigration, which is a valid point if they want to go for it, but there are also some massive more of the racial clashes over there. And this is something that we don't want to see here in Australia, because over here we have very different race, different people, and usually we do try not to see race, because we're all Australians here. Now, if you live here and then you pledge your allegiance and then you say, hey, I've decided to be an Australian, then you should be seen as an Australian here in Australia. However, for those people who are quite un-Australian, then I probably don't want to go too deep in that. Now, why there's an anti-immigration sentiment? Let's just dive straight into it. So there are 4 things that we identified. So number 1 is housing crisis. Rents are surging. Many young people couldn't afford homes. The idea of buying your own first home is getting harder and harder, especially in capital cities like Sydney and Melbourne. And in Sydney, the price is ridiculous. Also, rent is ridiculous. I can understand it because I personally got this apartment, and then they got this open home, and 50-60 young people showed up and just want to rent a place. And also there's a place in Bondi, and it was so hard to get. Even some of the YouTubers and TikTokers that I follow, one of them I follow very intensively, she moved from the UK to Melbourne, and then she's been posting her journey in Australia, been living in Australia for 6 years. If you follow her, you know who I'm talking about. And she's been having issues with rent. Not a lot of issues with visas, but a lot of issues with rent, and also finding a place. So that's something that I can totally understand. But guys, remember, there are temporary migrants, but there are also skilled workers. So what are the skilled workers? People from overseas to come to Australia to address the labor shortage. Doctors, nurses, there's a lot of them, software engineers. And also most importantly for the Albanese administration, they have prioritized industry like construction in order to address the housing crisis. The faster that we can build apartments and properties in Australia, the faster we can solve the housing crisis. The government have tried very hard to reduce temporary migrants like student visas holders and visitor visas holders. Bear in mind, it's also driving the economy here in Australia, because you need the students to come over and they pay like 4, 5, 6 times more than everyday Australian paying for uni, because we have HECS. If you don't want to pay it, you don't have to. But for overseas student, I went to University of Adelaide. My fee was like $6,000 10 years ago. And my fellow classmates from other countries, they were paying $30,000. I just paid off my HECS like 2 years ago, so I missed out on the discount. That's the difference, because they are able to generate more income and then more revenue and supporting the big units. Number 2 point is the cost of living, because it's also ultra ridiculous. After the inflation, daily expenses are rising, and immigrants are being unfairly targeted. Because there's a box of tissues that I buy quite frequently, it's on Woolies, and usually it was 99 cents before COVID, and now they're talking about 1.6. Well, it's not a lot, it's only 60 cents, right? Nothing wrong with that. But if you can't think about it in percentage, the price of that box of tissues has gone up by 60%. And milk, all these things, if you calculate it by percentage, it's way more than inflation. So did we have a 60% inflation? We have 10% here, 10% there. Did we really have a 60% inflation? Or were they just big corporates trying to scam us? Was it really for the immigrant? We really blame the immigrants, or should we turn around, stand up and look at Woolies and Coles? Hey, inflation wasn't 60%, so why are you selling a box of tissue for 60% more? So that's probably something that we got to consider. Media and politics, immigrants have no votes. A lot of them, they're permanent residents, they don't have votes. Citizens have votes. So that's why they are constantly targeted and blamed. They pay tax but no representation. That's the more like American theory. Taxation but no representation, right? So over here, they're being taxed. They lived here for ages, but unfortunately, because they're not a citizen, they don't have a vote. And because of that, it's a lot easier to blame on them. While they're working hard, generating the same income, paying the same tax, but they're getting blamed. So that's not too good. Last but not least, global influence. Our best friend in the United Kingdom, the Reform Party, they're doing something massive over there, and also in Canada. Unfortunately, we face a completely different issues here in Australia. We don't have people trying to cross the channel, but good luck if you want to cross the East Timor Sea or trying to get a boat from Indonesia to come over here. But we have a standing policy. Whoever arrive by boat to Australia will not gain the right to resettle in Australia. They will need to go offshore to get processed. So that's why there's no more boats in Australia. And not a lot of people are actually scamming our refugee system, our protection visa system. So we have a significantly stronger system and more well-managed immigration system comparing to the UK and comparing to Canada. So things are very different, and try not to get misled. Let's quickly talk about how it will affect family visas. Unfortunately, we don't really see or any actual impact that these protests have made yet, because the planning level for immigrations remains the same. There's nothing has changed comparing last year and this year. The government obviously didn't shift any of the policy, because in my humble opinion, I think our policy actually makes sense. We try to drive high quality skilled worker. There are lots of qualifications they have to complete, a lot of assessment, additional rules in order for them to comply. They probably need an employer to sponsor, an employer got to pay a lot of money to sponsor, and then once they're here, they got to work for X amount of years in certain work conditions so that they may be able to transfer to be a permanent resident. So nothing really have changed, because I try not to go into the politics, but there's a lot of things that this administration that I don't really agree with. But this one, the immigration policy, for me as a migration lawyer, I think it's good. A bit slow, but I think it's not bad. Just to have a very quick wrap up, the anti-immigration protest may look dramatic. It's more like a political threat than actual policy change, because the Australian government has made it clear that hate and division won't be tolerated. And migration remains essential to the country's future. Our country is built by immigrants. It started off with first Australians, then immigrants. British people came to settle down, then followed by European settlers, and then immigrants from all other countries. And now we have a modern immigration system which only invites skilled workers or family members of Australians to come to Australia. It's a very, very rigorous and difficult system to get through and to cheat. Of course, there are limited numbers of people actually trying to scam the system, and we can see on various news, but do not get deterred. These are the stuff that we do, and I think we're doing a good job. If you got any comments, pop it in the comment section. I'm more than happy to discuss peacefully with you guys. And let's bounce ideas, because we're Australian. We do the Australian thing. We talk properly. Thank you so much. If you have got to this part of the video, hit the subscribe, like, share, comment, and if you like it, share with your friends. I'm Johnny. I'll see you in the next episode.